Now to our final topic. The royal family are never out of the headlines these days. And this year, everyone is talking about the fastest selling non-fiction book ever, Spare, written by Duke of Sussex, Prince Harry. I still need to order my copy. Away from the scandal though, typically in the first few weeks of January, Buckingham Palace discourse is reserved for celebrating those who have received New Year's honours. The 2023 recognitions were the first to be issued by King Charles III, with a range of politicians and charity workers being rewarded for their hard work. UN Goodwill Ambassador and serial entrepreneur Mavis Olayinka is one of the recipients, and she joined me earlier on in the studio to discuss her monumental success. Mavis Olayinka, BEN, Honourable, Your Excellency. And I say that not trying to cause a joke, but I know that you are incredibly well connected in Ghana, where you hail from. And of course, you have been one of the lucky few to be the first to receive a New Year's honours by King Charles III. Talk to me about why you received it, how you received it, when you got the news, and congratulations, of course.
Thank you so much. So it wasn't surprising, because I think it was a long time coming, and I think a lot of people were expecting me to have this honour years ago, because I've been running business and doing entrepreneurship for over 20 years. So when the opportunity came, everyone was like, this has been long awaited. When I heard the news, obviously I couldn't say much, so I had to keep it really quiet. And it was, you know when you're just so excited to tell, but you just have to be quiet. And I was just over the moon. When I told my mum was so excited. She was like, hey, I'm going to Buckingham Palace. That was the first thing she said. And I just said to myself, I'm actually quite happy, because when you're helping the community, working on entrepreneurship, working on business, and people have so many challenges, and you're that person that helps them, it's a really good feeling. So to get this honour after like 20 years, I say I'm really, really happy and excited.
You should be happy and excited, because it is an absolute honour. I know among some circles there is a little bit of, shall we say, hesitancy towards receiving these kind of gongs from the British royal family. There's so much scandal, and not just because of Brexit, but because of the role of the British Empire. Correct. But you have been, as you said, working extensively in the UK for the past couple of decades. In fact, many of our viewers will know you because you've done lots of work, not just with those who are in need, but also the mightiest of the mightiest. You were one of the significant coordinators for the recent Fidelity Bank investment trade show that happened late last year. You have been doing it for quite a while, but the entrepreneurship landscape has changed. How has it changed? The kind of work you started doing 20 years ago to what you're doing this year?
I think, first of all, technology has come a long way. When I first started business, it was about fax machines and the good old telephones, and now everything's just digital. You can literally use your phone to do everything. So for me, I'm born in an age where technology wasn't, it wasn't great then, it was just kind of coming into play. So over the last 2 decades, I've seen a change in technology. I've seen a change in the way people do business now. You could do business just even on WhatsApp, Instagram, social media, and have had to get used to that kind of way of doing business. The old fashioned, let's put a letter in the post and let's have face-to-face has changed. Obviously, we've got the virtual, and I think there's quite a lot of benefits to it. But every time I think to myself, what more can come of doing business, virtually, online? Technology is so amazing, and it gives you those global connections and networks as well.
Absolutely. I know that, it's New Year. Lots of people are doing New Year's resolutions, or if you have a life coach, you're talking about your 10 steps to this, 20 goals to this. For any of our viewers watching, Mavis, that, would like to acquire some of your kind of services, but not pay for it because you're talking to me for free today, what advice would you give them?
I would say, the first thing is, if you do want to start a business, you want to get into entrepreneurship, is to kind of understand that, is it for you? You know, you have to be really passionate when it comes to running your business, anything that you're doing, because there are going to be days when it's up, 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 like receiving these awards and honours, and there's going to be days when it's really tough. And I always say to people that entrepreneurship is like a roller coaster. It is up and down, and you have to be prepared for the rough and the smooth. I would also say it's really important that one gets a business coach, someone that can really advise you and kind of get you where you want to get to, because it's really lonely as well. You know, as much as you're around, you know, lights, camera, action and people, there are days when it can be very, very, you know, dark, just because it's business. You know, sometimes things go really well and sometimes they don't. But I would say if anyone is thinking about it, is to basically have a business plan. That's one thing I see so many people lack, especially in the diverse communities. They don't have business plan. They don't have cash flow forecasts. And in some countries, including the UK and also in Africa, West Africa, it's really hard to access funds. You know, banks, you know, it's tough. So I would say you need to have a plan A and a plan Z for all of those days where you're going to have cash flow issues. There are going to be challenges, but at the same time, there's lots of rewards.
Absolutely. Finally, Mavis, I don't know if you've heard of the term Jakwa. God, I know I've not pronounced that perfectly, but you know, we are seeing a huge, significant brain drain from Nigeria. You know, nurses, teachers, all coming into the UK or across Europe and America looking for greater opportunities. What advice would you give to those? Because, of course, we know the UK isn't the land of milk and honey. It can be tough here and there are still prejudices, right? How important do you think soft skills are and being able to adapt to an environment that, let's be honest, we have come a long way significantly in terms of diversity and inclusion, but there's so much further to go, isn't there?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because my mum came here in 1973 when it was no Irish, no blacks, no dogs, and there was lots of challenges then. We have come a long way and things are better. I think when you fast forward kind of like 48 years, 50 years on, I see that coming to the UK is a lot more easier, and I think there's a lot more acceptance because there are so many people from all over the world here in the UK. I think if anyone wants to come, they definitely need to understand the country, understand the dynamics, understand that, you know, it's not easy. There is no gold on the floor, as everybody thinks. And I think people should be prepared for the good and also the ugly, because there is the ugly side to it. But one thing I would say that I love about the UK is the fact that there are opportunities, but you have to not give up. You have to keep going. You need to have the right skill set, qualifications, and there is so much open doors, especially in the healthcare area. And also, I'm seeing there's a huge influx of people coming from all over the world, and they are being accepted. Even for me, you know, being a black woman born here in the UK, I've had loads of barriers when it comes to, you know, going to these high places and winning all these contracts. But I see now that is becoming a lot more easier, and you can get through the glass ceiling. So for those that want to come, I'd say definitely be prepared. Make sure you have a really good place to stay, because accommodation can be so expensive, and also transport can be expensive too. But what I love about the UK is that there are opportunities, but you have to have contacts and know people as well, and also be prepared that it may take a long time. It's not an overnight thing, but definitely we're getting more diverse. The census came out the other day and it was talking about, you know, the high number of Africans coming into the UK. We've really done extremely well over the last 10 years, and that is growing. So I'd say please come, don't be put off, but be prepared for, you know, the long haul.
Absolutely. You're talking about contacts. They've got a contact in you now. Millions of our viewers watching. They've got Mavis Omankwa, BEM, Your Honourable Excellency. Thank you so much. And given the socio-economic gloomy backdrop that we have in the UK in the moment, it's fantastic to end this business show on a positive note. Congratulations once again.
Thank you for having me, Juliana.
Thank you.